Hey there, grade 8s. Welcome to lesson 5 of chapter 3. Today we're talking about dividing whole numbers and fractions. So just as a reminder, when we all started learning division, you're possibly taught two different ways, grouping or sharing. Okay, so if we were to have, for example, 20 of something, if we were to have something like this, okay, we could say that we are breaking it up into 5 groups, or that there's 5 of something in each group, depending on which way that you're looking at it. Okay, so our answer would end up being 4. Okay, so what we could have is we could have 5 groups of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or we could have 4 groups of 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Either way, we still have 20. Okay, so nothing is really changing there. But what we also realize is that division and multiplication are the inverse of each other. Okay, so what's going on here is actually 5 times 4 equals 20. Okay, so we're actually looking at the opposite. Okay, so division and multiplication have always kind of had that relationship. So when we're talking about dividing fractions, we're going to continue to use that. So what I want you to do is, if this box represents a whole, okay? So that means I would have 2 holes in this picture, okay? What I want you to do is try to, if we've got 2, what I want you to say is how many quarters are there? How many quarters are there? So that might be easy. Okay, you could actually cut it up into the quarters. But then I also want you to break it up into 3 quarters. Okay, how many 3 quarters will you have? So I want you to pause it, and then when you come back, we're going to talk about it, exactly what's going on. Okay, so in this example, the first one that we're breaking it down into is to quarters. Well, it's already broken up into quarter squares. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if we have 2, we break that up into quarters, 2 holes, and we're breaking it up into different individual quarter pieces, we would have 8 pieces. Okay? This one, now what we're doing is we're breaking it up into 3 quarters. So it would look something like this. We would have 1 here, we'd have 1 here, so we have 2, and what do we have left? We have technically 2 pieces. Okay, 2 pieces, but we wouldn't say 2 quarters because that'd be a little bit different. We're actually going to say, because a whole for us now is a third. Okay, so we're actually going to have 2 thirds. Okay, so 2 and 2 thirds is what we're actually going to end up getting in this situation. And now you might look at me and be like, Mr. Nick, that makes 0 sense. How can we go from quarters and wholes to now we suddenly have thirds? Well, let me explain to you why. Okay, and let's remember that multiplication and division we can say are the inverse of each other. All right, so let's come up with some questions here. Let's use that same question, okay? So we have 2 over 1, which is the same as 2, but just so you can kind of see it as a fraction, divided by 3 over 4, okay? Like I said, it's the inverse. So the inverse is technically kind of the opposite direction. But what it also means is when we're talking about fractions, we can actually flip it, okay? So if we have 2 over 1, okay, we already talked about multiplication, and I liked multiplication. Multiplication I thought was easy. So I'm going to change it to multiplication. What am I going to do? I'm going to flip this. Okay, that's going to go upside down. So now I've got 4 over 3. Okay, this works. Okay, now I can just multiply like I did before. So 2 times 4 is 8. 1 times 3 is 3. Okay, so remember what we had last time? We had 2 and 2 thirds. Let's see what happens, what we get here. I'm going to remove the whole numbers. Okay, 3 can become out of 8 twice. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 minus 8 is 2 thirds. Hey, that gave me the same thing. Okay, let's look at another example. Okay, here we go. Let's look at this example. Okay, so if we've got something like 6 divided by 1/3. Okay, I'm going to make this a fraction. Okay, what my students last year really enjoyed doing, I'm going to just fix this so that it looks, whoops, 1/3, is they actually like to do kind of a crisscross, okay, like a double thing. Okay, instead of necessarily flipping it, what they would do is they'd go like this. I'd go multiply, comes here, multiply, comes here. Okay, so instead of necessarily flipping it, what they would do is they would do this kind of like double cross. Okay, so I'd go 6 times 3 gives me 18. 1 times 1 gives me 1. So my answer here ends up being 18. Let's look at it the other way. So if I have 6 over 1, now I'm going to multiply and I'm going to flip it. I've got 3 over 1. I'm going to get the same thing. 6 times 3 is 18 over 1. So you can use whatever method you like better. Okay? If you don't want to rewrite the question and you just want to do this, okay, that's totally fine. If you would rather flip it and just multiply straight across, okay, this way I'm just going straight across instead of crisscrossing, that's totally fine. All right, time for another one. Okay, so if we have 6 divided by 4 over 3, okay, so once again, just a reminder, that's 6 over 1. That's 6 wholes, okay, it's not 6 over 6. 6 over 6 would be 1. 6 over 1 would be 6. So I'm going to do it both ways. I'm going to put it down here, and then I'm going to be multiplying by 3 over 4. So 6 times 3 is 18, and this is 4. I can reduce this to give me 9 over 2, which is equal to 4 and 1/2. Let's see what we get this way. Here we get 18 over 1 times 4 is 4. I can reduce it to get 9 over 2, which gives me 4 and 1/2. Okay, so I end up getting the exact same result no matter which way I technically go through it. All right, this is going to be a method that we're going to continue to use when we're talking about division. So this is something we should try to get used to right away. And yeah, if you have any questions, once again, send me a hangout. Bring your questions to the Zoom chat. If you have a question, more than likely other students do too. And yeah, good luck. Check your homework. Have fun.